Today we're going to do one-step multiplication. The last video is one-step addition. So a lot of things are going to be exactly the same. Those 4 steps we talked about, we are going to use the inverse. Remember that for multiplication, the inverse is the reciprocal. It is not the opposite. So we're going to work today on flipping the fraction. Second, we will balance the scale, because whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Third, we will look in the mirror or use the identity. Remember that the identity for multiplication is 1, not 0. So we're going to be looking to multiply by 1, using the inverse to get 1, then be able to take our variable times 1. And of course, that all-important 4th step, we will check our answer to make sure we are right. So I'm going to show you an example on a relatively simple one first. 2x equals 30. I'm going to draw my balance scale. Step 1, I'm going to use the inverse. Now this is multiplication, so the inverse is the reciprocal, and I have to multiply by it. So I'm going to multiply by 1/2, because that's the reciprocal of 2. 2 times 1/2 is 1. Drop the times x that I didn't use. Now I have to balance the scale and multiply that side by 1/2. 30 times 1/2 is 15. Now, third step, x is going to look in the mirror. Our x times 1 is x. So the answer is x equals 15. I can check my answer. 2 times 15 does in fact equal 30, so I know that I am correct. Okay? So it's a lot like what we did yesterday, it's just we're doing it in multiplication instead of with addition. Now, let's try another one. -2/3 x equals -4. So we're throwing some negatives in there and then a fraction. You got to remember your rules for multiplying by a negative. I'm going to draw my balance scale. First thing I'm going to do is use the inverse. The reciprocal of -2/3 is -3/2. Notice that reciprocals remain negative. The sign doesn't change, that's only with addition. So the reciprocal is -2. And that's going to give me 1 times x, because a number times its reciprocal is always 1. Now I have to balance the scale and multiply this side by 3/2. Now, you don't really need your calculator. This becomes a multiplying fractions problem. I'm taking -4 times -3/2. Top times top gives me a +12. Bottom times bottom gives me a +2. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. So this side is 6. Now, I'm going to look in the mirror or use my identity. X times 1 is x. So x equals 6. Now I can check my answer by plugging back in. -2/3 times 6, does that give me -4? I'm going to put that over 1 and do another multiplying fractions. -2 times 6 is -12. 3 times 1 is 3. -12 divided by 3 is -4. So I've checked my answer and it is correct. So, as you'll notice, this is a lot the same as the one-step addition. You just have to remember that now you're doing multiplication. So, we're multiplying by the reciprocal. Our mirror, our identity is 1. And when we plug back in, we are multiplying.